6 degrees centigrade is an exaggeration. It's freezing cold here in Koksijde now. We haven't seen any sense of sunshine at all today. Everyone is wrapped up against the cold, but that's what cyclocross is all about. Both enduring the cold temperatures and the sand and the mud and everything else that gets thrown at you. Here we are then with the standings. 285 points to Van Aert. Wout Van Aert says that he will take back the World Cup lead today. That's his aim. And then he'll go on training camp to Calpe in Spain and get a little bit of warm weather until the run-in to the next round of the World Cup, which is in Namur on the 23rd of December. So we have a little bit of a gap now of almost 1 month before the next round. And then after that, we go to Zolder on Boxing Day on the 26th. Then to Pont-Château in France, and then Koksijde for the last round of racing. Quinten Hermans on the start line then. He's having a good season so far. He was 5th last time in Tabor and 5th in Bern. Michael Van Turnhout, he's there. He's 4th overall in the World Cup. Wout Van Aert, the world champion. Steadily things are improving as far as contract negotiations are concerned and everything else. So the morale is improving all the time. Corne van Kessel alongside him. Then we have the World Cup leader, Telenet, in the red and white. Alongside him, the European champion, Mathieu Van Der Pol. He's won the last 2 rounds. Aert has won the rounds before that. Number 4, Lawrence Week. Could be a good day for him. And then Lars van der Haar, last time he was 3rd in Tabor. A rider who's on form. The heartbeats are going then in the background. Beat Warble pulls back the ribbon, and then we'll see what happens. Last time out, it was Machi Vanderpool ahead of Lars van der Haar, ahead of Wout Van Aert. And they're underway now. Who is going to be first into the corner? And Mathieu Van Der Pol gets a very good start, but always one rider who gets a great start is Lars van der Haar. As Van der Haar goes first through the right-hander, Van Der Pol on his wheel. Right in on his wheel is Corne van Kessel. But that was a very, very good start by Lars van der Haar. He's so powerful off the start line. Van der Haar likes to ride here in Koksijde. It's one of those crosses that we always see him do well in. 2nd last time. And Van der Poel immediately on his wheel, wearing leg warmers today. Corne van Kessel behind him. Tonaerts is behind him, then Wout Van Aert. Then Tim Merlier, who was 6th in Iowa. Into this first run-up. 48 riders in the field today, compared to 63 in the women's race. There goes David Van Der Poel. He's in the red and white. He was 5th last year. But Wout Van Aert needs to move up a little bit here and not let Mathieu Van Der Pol get the advantage in the early stages, because as we know, if he decides to go away, then that's pretty much game over. This cyclocross was first run in 1969, so 49 years ago. First winner was Roger de Vlamingh. He's, of course, been criticising Mathieu Van Der Pol in the press recently. He's saying he needs to be a little bit more clever and he's making cyclocross boring, to which Mathieu Van Der Pol responded and said, I don't train to lose bike races, and it's up to everyone else to up their game. So an interesting little bit of war of words going on. Wout van Aert had a bad day in Tabor, and he doesn't look to be having a much better day today. He's dropping back here. And Van Der Poel already is at the front of the race. Ian Field on the right-hand side, wearing number 51, the former British champion. Van Der Poel and everyone else are disappearing. There is the world champion wearing number 1, and he's a little bit all over the place. Quinten Hermans on his wheel. And already Van Der Poel has got that familiar style. Van der Haar is right in the slipstream. Coming across his corner, Van Kessel. Wout needs to get in his stride here. A little bit further back is Laurens Sweeck. He was 4th last year. We know that he's good in the sand. David Van Der Poel goes through, number 14 there, Vincent Bastians of Belgium. Joris Nieuwenhuis goes through the camera. Also going through then is Marcel Meisen. But Mathieu Van Der Pol is already trying to get rid of the rest of the field. Huge acceleration out of that corner, and he almost goes all the way to the top of that rise. Lars van der Haar is matching him. Well, right now, Wout van Aert is riding way down the field, 10th place at the moment. Oops, and a crash for him. The world champion is not having a good start to this race in Koksijde. Don't often see him crash like that. Down the drop-off then, and he's running 10th, maybe even further back now. There is Wout van Aert, wearing number 1. Machi Vanderpool wearing number 20 is already ahead, and he's opening up a few seconds on Lars van der Haar. So in Bern it was Van Der Poel, Van Aert in 2nd, Toonaerts in 3rd, Van Turenhout in 4th. In Tabor it was Van Der Poel, Van Turenhout, Lars van der Haar and Toonaerts. As things stand, this rider is just demolishing the field already. He's already got a few seconds on Lars van der Haar in 2nd place, and Van Der Poel is just riding away. He's got the European stars now on the front of the bike. And at the end of this first lap, the normal tussle between Van Der Poel and Van Aert is game over, and Van Aert is going to be somewhere around about, I'm trying to think how far back he's going to be. He's going to be ending up, I don't know, maybe 30 seconds down. He's already 27 seconds down. Van Der Poel is going round sections where you normally have to get off the bike. Van Aert, remember last season, he had a bad moment around about this time of the year. Then he went away and trained in the sunshine, and he came back a much stronger rider. T-Sarts then went round the corner there. Lars van der Haar is running 2nd. Corner Van Kessel behind him. Toonaerts is, at this moment in time, holding on to his lead in the World Cup. 285 points to Toonaerts, 258 to Wout van Aert. Quinten Hermans in 3rd at 230. So if things continue like this, and Toonaerts is the rider who would probably stay in the lead of the World Cup. Wout van Aert is having to work his way through the field. We'll get an idea at the end of this lap just how far down he is. 38 seconds, I think, at the moment. And at the end of this lap, Mathieu Van Der Pol is just riding away. No one has got a chance. Van Der Pol with a 6:58. And there is the world champion. Lars van der Haar coming in second and is already 15 seconds down. Third is Corne van Kessel, who is 20 seconds down, maybe even 21. That was a 6:58 lap. Now, if you think Mathieu Van Der Pol is going better than last season, his opening lap time last year was a 6:57. He's just opened up with a 6:58. Only 1 second difference to the opening lap of last year, which kind of gives you an indication that either he is making better use of the track compared to his rivals, or his rivals just aren't on form right now. So that 1 second difference, so it's not massively different to last year. And if you go through his lap times of last year, he did a 6:54 on lap 2 and a 6:50 on lap 3. So the expectation is that he'll probably go even quicker. Can Wout van Aert do something here? It's a massive ask. Former world champion Machi Vanderpool, who is at the moment head and shoulders above the rest of the field, who just have no response to him whatsoever. He last won the world title in 2015. But as things stand, he's just running away from the rest of the field. There is Wout van der Pol. Has he gone out too early, or can he keep this going for the entire race? We saw Marianne Vos try and do this in the women's race, but she didn't get as dominant as Mathieu Van Der Pol is already. Lars van der Haar still working well there in second, Toonarts in third, but Van Der Pol is super strong at this moment in time. Van Der Pol this year has had a mixed season of both road racing and riding and getting ready for cyclocross. I was with him in the Arctic race of Norway, which he took a couple of stages in. But as things stand right now, he is the dominant force in world cyclocross. No one has any response. He's Dutch mountain bike champion. This year he's won the silver medal in the European Road Championships, won the points classification in the Arctic race, he won the Ronde van Limburg. Oops. But he is taking some risks, so he's just got to be a little bit careful. He's also Dutch road race champion as well as the mountain bike champion. And this season so far, the number of victories he's taken is just growing all the time. Interesting, he's chosen to wear long leggings today compared to everyone else who are in their usual shorts, but he's clearly feeling the cold a little bit today. He's just looking after the legs as he makes his way down that drop. Wout van Aert seems to be recovering a little bit. Up to 6th now. Van Der Pol has got the entire length of that straight ahead already of the rest of the field. But of course, if he's this far ahead, then he's got to really concentrate for what is an hour of racing. Can he manage to keep this together? That's the question. Those of you who are fans of the United States of America, Brian Matter is in the race. He's riding in the field today. He's the sole representative in the men's race for the United States of America, and he is currently, in terms of his place, 47th out of the 48 riders, but he's there and he's competing, and that's the main thing. Thanks for all your messages to Chad and Katie and everyone else who's messaged. Bizplan, thanks for your message. Do I think Van Aert's contract issues are a principal reason he's a bit off the pace? I think there's two things. I think Wout's focus is a little different sometimes, and he wants the world title, so the start of the season, he's never in the same shape he is when he gets to World's time. So there's a little bit of that, but also anyone who's had to go through dealing with the amount of stuff he's had to deal with the contract, it's going to just tire you a little bit. And Van Der Poel's got none of that going on. So I think Wout's just a combination of the two different things that are maybe just draining his energy a little bit. Maybe there's a bit of illness been hanging around a little bit too, but I'm not really aware of it. As he comes round then, Mathieu Van Der Pol is going to complete lap number 2. It was a 6:58 last time. Let's see what the lap time is going to be this time as he goes through. And that was a slower lap, a 7:10 for the second lap. And in 2017, he never went above a 7-minute lap. Average speed 25.09 kilometers an hour was the average speed. Lars van der Haar has dropped back with Wout van Aert. These are the next riders coming through. We're on to lap number 3 of what is going to be a 9-lap race. The thing that Mathieu Van Der Pol can do now is he's out in the front, therefore he can control the race how he wants to. So even if he's going through a bad patch, we can drill it back a little bit, wait and let everyone come back a tiny bit. And then he can start to accelerate again. So he's perfectly in control of this entire race and the destiny of the race. The only thing he can't control is if he has a mechanical problem or something similar, which we don't wish on him at all. Moving up now into the places is Wout van Aert. There he is wearing number 1, so he's recovering a bit here. He was at 32 seconds. He's still at 34. But he's with riders, which means they can do a little bit of work on the sections where they can share the pace a little bit. Not always possible in cyclocross too much, but there are certain little areas of this course where they could work together. And of course, having riders around you mean there's a little bit more incentive. Machi Van Der Poele jumps off the bike. Here's our next group of riders with Dan Sota wearing number 7 there. He's had a good season so far when we look at his performances. Dan Sota was 6th in Bern and he was 5th in Waterloo at the very start of the season. It's all Telenet Fidea Lions riders in this group, surrounding Wout van Aert. Koenarts is racing away here from this group, trying to go forward, seeing if he can close this gap at all. In terms of lap times, Van Aert's lap time on lap number 2 was a 7:07 compared to a 6:58 of Mathieu Van Der Pol, a 7:14 for Lars van der Haar, Lawrence Week on a 7:15.9. Just shows the difference between these riders as to just how far off the pace of Machi Vanderpool they are right now. Bill Sheik, and yep, the performances of Van der Pol. He also did a whole mountain bike World Cup cross-country season, you've reminded me. He does want to do well in Tokyo 2020. That's his big focus before he goes to the road. The leaves falling all around this course. The race for third place at 35 seconds now. On the bottom of the screen, you get the constant run-through of where all the riders are. Van der Pol doesn't look like he's under any stress whatsoever as he just pushes that bike in the track. Down onto the descent for Van der Pol. Meanwhile, these riders are still on the single track. When Van der Pol's able to look across and see where some other riders are, he'll start to close in and lap riders pretty quickly, I think. You can see the urgency of him, though. Just letting the bike swing all over the place, letting it track its way through the sand, not letting the bike control him. He's just letting the bike glide. So well done from Van der Pol. He just looks comfortable, the hands firmly fixed on the brake hoods. No mistake into that corner. So he's going in hot into a couple of turns. But his bike handling is so good that he very rarely lets the bike go. If you just watch the way he rides, those hands are so fixed on the hoods of the brakes. As Van Aert throws his glasses, same that Tom Pidcock did in the under-23 race. Pidcock was having an interesting lap on lap number 2, made a few mistakes, didn't quite get going, threw his glasses into the pits because it's so dark here. It's almost dark outside the window. And then Pidcock almost came to life and then started to accelerate. Finally caught Elias a bit and then attacked him and went away and just decimated the race with a big attack. Here is Van der Poel, leader of the race in the European Champions colours. If you've never seen Koksijde before, it is one of those crosses that everyone wants to win. Signified by the sand of the northern beaches of Belgium and France. Coming up now to complete lap number 3 is Mathieu Van Der Pol. He's going to go past my commentary box window any moment. Van der Pol goes through in a 7:01, so 9 seconds faster than the last lap. He did a 7:10, average speed 25.65 kilometers an hour, and that's his second fastest lap of the race so far. He opened up with a 6:58, went to a 7:10, back now to a 7:01. Van Aert last time was 34 seconds behind. This time he's going to be even further behind. It's going to be 36. In fact, 38 seconds, my readout showing me. 38 seconds down at the end of lap number 3. Here's Van der Haar. And Van der Haar is lying 4th overall. Top 4 then, Mathieu Van Der Pol, Wout van Aert, Toon Aerts, Lars Van der Haar, Corne van Kessel. Then it's Dan Sota and Michael van Turenhout. Van Aert then in the last 3 laps was 32 seconds down, 34 seconds down. Now he's 38 down at the end of lap number 3. He's going to be disappointed with this. He looks to be going well. He obviously just had a bad opening lap. To me, he looks still comfortable. He doesn't look under massive pressure. Corne van Kessel has to take the feet out of the pedals through that fast turn. Laurens Sweeck is, at this moment, still a little bit further back, which is a surprise. Last year, Laurens Sweeck was really on form on this particular day, and he ended up 4th place. There was quite a lot of talk before the start that today would suit Laurens Sweeck, and we should watch out for him. The same way that they were messaging or talking about Denise Betsema. The other day, Mathieu Van Der Pol posted a photo of him taking air on this cyclocross bike with a bit of a whip turn, and he just posted, "You have to remember to have fun." He thrives on riding like this. The crowd trying to urge a little bit of a reaction out of these riders, but they are firmly on their limits. They're not holding back in any way. They've given it everything. And Bizplan, thanks for the message. Do we know why Pidcock's doing some races as an under-23 and others as an elite? It is to do with gradual exposure to being an elite. He doesn't feel like he's ready to dominate the elite racing in any shape or form, and he wants to get the experience of riding the under-23s before he moves on to riding as an elite. But he's getting closer to the likes of Van Aert and Van Der Pol. In the under-23 race today, at one moment he looked like he was not having a good day. He was hanging around at the back of a group. He let Eli Elizabeth do all the work, and then suddenly he attacked him when Eli actually had a puncture, and by even allowing for the puncture, by the end of the next lap, Tom Pidcock was miles ahead. The only rider who was able to go with him was the Frenchman, but even here he didn't have an answer. He was 18 seconds down. Pidcock was head and shoulders compared to everyone else. Van Aert trying to respond, and so far it's just not really happening for him. Accelerates hard up that next little rise. Eric W. seems like a message is being sent to De Vlaming. It looks to me like it definitely is. That was the comments of this week. And at this moment, Van Der Pol doesn't really care. He is riding away even stronger from this star-studded field than he's ever done before. He literally has broken this race. Just the way that he holds the bars when he's on form, he just has the hands on those brake levers. He never lets them off either. When you look at it, even when he gets off the bike, they just stay on the brakes, never even thinks about taking them off, stays as low as he possibly can. And he just surfs the back wheel, he just lets the bike glide. Watch it. You see the way that back wheel just moves, and he doesn't fight it in any way whatsoever. He just lets the bike do what it wants to do. Crowd going mad up this little rise here. Van Der Pol now onto the flat section. Riding with the aero bars on the front, a very narrow section to help cut through the air. More traditional look to the bike of Wout van Aert. And seriously, it could be Van Der Pol's looking at everything that gives him an advantage. And there are little things that are making a difference to his performance. Got his shoes up. Comes round to complete lap number 4. Goes back out. That was a 7:05. He's tracking 12 seconds slower on average than he did last season on this course, and yet he's still riding away. The course is always slightly different, of course, but not significantly. Well, looks like he's getting going just a bit. He's closed up a tiny amount. Well, 1 second. So 37 seconds down. Lars van der Haar into the aero tuck. He tried to go with Van Der Poel. It just didn't happen for him. Just the way that he lets the bike glide is something to just be amazed by. It's superb to see. This group led by Laurens Sweeck. Michael Van Turenhout on the back of that group. The top places so far then, Mathieu Van Der Pol leads 37 seconds ahead of Wout van Aert. Then we have Turenhout's third place at 40 seconds. Lars van der Haar in 4th, Laurens Sweeck in 5th, Corne van Kessel in 6th, Dan Sota in 7th, Michael Van Turenhout in 8th, then it's Kevin Pauwels, then it's David Van Der Poel. He makes his way up the next rise. Such a clean looking bike that, with the discs in. Just using the shoulders, using the back a little bit just to keep the momentum going forward. Anyone who's got a youngster who's riding a cyclocross bike or a bike, they could just study the way Van Der Poel rides. You'll learn a lot. Just watch exactly, look at the pedaling style, look at the way he keeps his hands on those brake hoods, never lets them off. The way that he just keeps that urgency going. He sits quite forward. But it's a really good study of just a rider who looks superb on a bike. If you've missed the women's race, go back and watch it. We won't say who's won because it's certainly well worth watching. It was a much closer race than this one. It was pretty exciting all the way through, with so many riders in with an opportunity of taking the victory. But there really is no answer to the might of Mathieu Van Der Pol right now. He is just leaving everyone behind. Here is Lars van der Haar. Van der Pol, when you go through his history in this race, finished 3rd place in 14, 3rd place in 15. It wasn't run, of course, in 2016 because of the storms that happened the night before and on the day. The wind was incredible here in Koksijde. But Van der Pol finally took his victory last season. And this race is known as the cross that De Vlaeminck won in 1969 in the first ever year of it. Maybe Van der Pol, he knows the history of bike racing. He's indelibly linked to it with his dad being Adrie Van der Pol and his granddad being Raymond Poulador. He is steeped in the history of bike racing. He knows exactly who's won these crosses. He knows what this message would be. And Van der Pol continues to trudge his way through the sand. Look at the way he just let that bike. It's almost going sideways when he was going over that little section there. Van der Pol rides that entire section. Doesn't even think about getting off the bike. Thank you for so many messages today. If you'd like to message at UCI_cycling, at Ant McCrossan. Ask any questions, any thoughts, predictions, what's going to happen after this next little break where the riders can go and do some hot weather training or just work on skills. Will Van Aert come back, an even stronger rider again? Tends to get motivated by the sunshine. Is that going to change the second phase of the season? It certainly did last year, and it could well do this year. There's Laurens Sweeck. As you sit and watch this, you have to wonder what these riders can do to get anywhere close to Mathieu Van Der Pol. How are they going to improve their performance to get back to him? Because right now he is the dominant force. He's like the Team Sky of cyclocross on his own. There is just no answer to the way he rides a bike. Coming up now to complete another lap. This is lap number 5. Crossing the line that time. And just to give everyone even more grief, he's just turned in his fastest lap. 6:55 was his lap time that time, which in comparison to 2017, he was 4 seconds slower that lap than he was in 2017. So he sits up to stretch his back. Van Aert last time was 37 seconds down. Van Aert then in second place. Better performance than Tabor. But at this point in the race, he is now 44 seconds down. So despite Wout van Aert seemingly recovering, he's just lost 7 seconds in 1 lap to Machi Vanderpool. Third place is Toon Aerts. So whilst Van der Pol is riding there at the front, and you would think, okay, he's going to go through some moments of wondering whether he's keeping the momentum going and everything's going all right. At this precise moment in time, he's just going even faster. His fastest lap time in 2017 was a 6:47. He's just produced a 6:55, which is 3 seconds faster than his previous fastest lap time in this race, which was on lap number 1 when he just left everyone behind. Joris Nieuwenhuis goes through the picture. Van Der Pol continues to work his way through the sand. Paul Franzen, thank you for your message. Yeah, this race is over unless he has a technical problem. Van Der Pol is right on the very top of his game. He is leaving everyone under no illusions that he is the best world cyclocross rider in the world right now. The world champion is Van Aert, but Van Der Pol is just dominating this race like no one else can. This would be a hat-trick of victories in the World Cup. He won in Bern, he won in Tabor, and now he's just making everyone else look like they're in a different league. Just to update on some of the other nations for you, just as to where everyone is. Brian Matter is the only rider from USA down in 47th place. He's about 6 minutes behind, so he's getting close to being lapped by Mathieu Van Der Pol. Ismael Esteban of Spain is 43rd. Ian Field of Great Britain is 39th. Lars van der Haar of the Netherlands is 4th at this moment in time, and the entire top 10 made up of Belgians and Dutch. Michael Boros of the Czech Republic, 15th place for him. Marcel Miesen in 16th place for Germany. Felipe Orts of Spain in 20th place. Stan Gaudry down in 30th. Fabien Canal. In fact, the French are running 31st, 32nd, 33rd, 34th. The entire team is all together. That kind of might show you that they might need to change the way they train. They're riding constantly in a line, all four of them. Machi Vanderpool then. Still at the front. Just to clarify, Tom Pidcock's just messaged me to say Ellie is a bit punctured after he made his big move in the under-23 race, rather than at the same time. So Pidcock left is a bit behind before he punctured. Wow, getting some good lines in here as he works his way through the sand. This rider trying to hold on to his World Cup lead. 285 is his current points. Mathieu Van Der Pol's got 160, so he's not a danger. Wout van Aert's on 258. So at this moment in time, I don't think he's losing the lead. Wout was quite vociferous this week in saying he would go back to the top of the leaderboard. Thanks to all of you who've messaged in at UCI_cycling, at Ant McCrossan. Mark, enjoying watching the racing. Thank you very much, Mark Sanson, for your message. And this time round, we're going to start the countdown to the finish of this race. There's the next group of riders. Laurens Sweeck, Dan Sota, Corne van Kessel. Mathieu Van Der Pol comes round to complete lap number 6. He's got rid of his glasses. Crosses the line that time in a 7:10. So he's taken that one a little bit more easy. 15 seconds slower than the previous lap. His fastest lap was 6:55, which was lap number 5. Wout van Aert's fastest lap is a 7:01. This rider's fastest lap is a 7:07, so he's literally 13 seconds, 12 to 13 seconds off the pace in the fastest lap. Wout van Aert goes across the line that time. 41 seconds down, so he's clawed back 3. 3 more laps of racing to go. Lars van der Haar looking at his watch. Mathieu's got that turn nicely nailed. That's where some of the riders were making a few mistakes in the women's race, because there was starting to be a rut which was created. Van der Haar crosses the line. Van der Haar then at this moment is running pretty well.
And then we have
Van der Haar, 123 down in 4th place. Needs to bring back quite a considerable distance to get himself on the podium again. Another rider who rides a road season as well, Lars van der Haar. Joris Nieuwenhuis there in the black and white of the Sunweb team. Kevin Powers, Tom Mayusen at the back of that group. Incredible this, isn't it? 2 minutes and 11 seconds down in 9th place. David Van Der Pol crosses the line, 2:20 down in 12th. We're talking about the top cyclocross riders in the world. Kevin Powers, Mayusen, these guys who are just nowhere near. Van Der Pol, cadence really high, concentration, absolute focus.
en ook Zolaerts klimt zich opnieuw door het zand van Koksijde.
Corne van Kessel looks to be cracking a little bit now, so does Laurens Sweeck. The looks on the faces kind of tell quite a story, don't they? It's freezing cold out here. They're unable to go with the moves that are happening up front. Van Der Pol is riding the entire course where people aren't able to. Even kicks his way over the top there, downhill. Let's run through the top 10 then for you. Machi Vanderpool, the leader. 2nd place, Wout van Aert. 3rd place, Toon Aert. Then Lars van der Haar. Then Dan Sota, Michael van Turenhout, Corne van Kessel, Laurens Sweeck, Kevin Powers, Joris Nieuwenhuis. Nieuwenhuis producing a good performance here. One of his best performances in a World Cup. So he's starting to get the measure of these elite races now, where, of course, the pace is so high. Wout has put what was a terrible start now back into a little bit more perspective, running second, and he's coming back a little bit. 35 seconds is now his deficit. He'd gone out as far as 44. Well, do send me a message if you'd like to in these last couple of laps. At UCI_cycling and at Ant McCrossan. John Berryhill, that's an interesting question. Is Van Der Poel riding wider tyres than Van Aert? I don't think he is. I think they're riding pretty similar. It'll just be down to pressure. And quite often Van Der Poel will ride really, really low pressure in those tyres. Do you remember a couple of years ago, there was all that controversy about Wout van Aert using some really old tyres given to him by Niels Albert. I think that Van Der Poel's tyres do look wide in that bike just because of the style of that canyon at the front. But I'd be surprised if they are significantly different, even a millimetre different. But having said that, when I look at them, there is a little bit of a difference. Well, it seriously is a procession today here in Koksijde. It's the Mathieu Van Der Pol show. He's going to come round now to complete lap number 7. 49 minutes of racing gone. And he's sending a message out to anyone who's criticised his riding. That is, I'm not going to change the way I'm riding. 7:07, 3 seconds faster that time than the previous lap. The average speed, 25.25 kilometers an hour for Mathieu Van Der Pol. Here comes Wout van Aert. He's got that look of being a little bit pale where he's gone through a serious race today. Sometimes Wout can look a little bit drained and washed out at some points in a race when he's not quite on it. He looks to be getting better. We're on lap number 8 now, and Wout is 36 seconds down. Behind him, the World Cup leader. 2 laps in to complete this lap. 2 laps to go now. Around 10 minutes of racing. So this race is going to be around an hour. Just over an hour, actually, as Van Der Pol just clips the foot out the pedals. Pierre Smith, yep, David is Matthew's brother. Lars van der Haar coming up in 4th place. And for perspective, he's 131 down. Brian McCowan, yeah, I think you're right. Mathieu is just backing off now. He's kind of riding lap times that he feels like riding at any particular moment. Carl van Vuren, if Nino Schurter rode cyclocross, would he be able to match Van Der Pol? That would be a very interesting competition to see that happen. Can we make it happen? I'm not sure, but it would be a good tussle. Kevin Powles riding away from Joris Nieuwenhuis. B-dubs, grab a bike and get an in-race interview with Van Der Pol. Do you want to do that? I don't think any of us could keep up with him for more than about 10 meters, the way he rides a bike. The work rate of Van Der Poel is huge. Cadence is high, the power is there, the shoulders are moving. Michael, thanks for your message. So just to clarify the race situation, the lap times over the last laps, Van Der Poel has gone 6:58, 7:10, 7:01, 7:05. His fastest lap on lap 5 is 6:55, 7:10 on lap 6, 7:07 on lap number 7. Van Der Poel is the leader of the race now by 33 seconds. His biggest advantage was 44. And currently, this is the top 10. Van Der Poel leads. Wout van Aert second. Toon Aerts in third place. Lars van der Haar in fourth at 1:31. Dan Sota 1:58 down in fifth. Corne van Kessel 1:58 in sixth. Then we've got Michael van Turen out, then Laurens Sweeck, then Kevin Powles. Then making up the top 10, Joren Stevenhouse, 2:25 down on the leader, Mathieu Van Der Pol. We're 7 laps in, this is lap number 8. Then Harvey, you want to see the under-23 and junior races. Certainly a World Championship time, we show every single category. I don't know if we'll get to see any of the races. They're not produced at this moment in time. We just get to see them because we're here. But there is no there's no produced coverage. Just taking a look at the replay here of Van Der Poel. He's having some fun. Little wheelie through that section. He's in so much control. He's at one with this bike. Mariska McLean, what pressure do these guys ride? Really very low. Two bar maximum, really low. It's the bike, you can, if you go and touch the bike of Van Der Poel before the start, you press his tires, and his dad, Adri, is always preparing his bikes. Then you can pretty much put your finger on the tire and touch the rim. It's so, you can see it's almost running flat. Wow, working his way along this section here. Crystal, are the cyclocross bikes, wheels, handlebars entirely carbon? Just to take a look, not entirely. So as you look at Wout van Aert here, his handlebars are aluminium. They are not, he's not riding carbon today. Van Der Poel, though, is riding pretty much carbon everything. It's just the gear choices of everyone. So Van Der Poel's bike, as you look, carbon frame, carbon bars, carbon seat pin. Not sure about the rims on that bike. I think they're aluminium. But the riders just decide what equipment they want to choose. Here is Van Der Poel then on the single track section. Remember last year, Van Der Poel dominated for so long, and then Wout van Aert went away, got himself ready for the World Champs, and then dashed the hopes of Van Der Poel in the Worlds. Bell lap. Van Der Poel comes through, 57 minutes of racing are going to be completed. Looks like he's starting to move even quicker again, but it's a 7:13 that time, 6 seconds slower than the previous lap. A painful race for all the chasers. For Van Der Pol, it's like dreamland. He's been able to just ride his entire race how he wanted to. Pull wheelies, have some fun, showboat to the crowd now and then if he wants to. And this last lap, as long as he doesn't have a mechanical, is a procession. 33 seconds. That's the closest Wout van Aert has got to Van Der Pol in the entire race. Toon Aerts coming through in third place. He's going to hold on to his World Cup lead. So just 7 minutes of racing left. Thank you to all of you who have joined us for this race today. I know it's been a procession. And behind there haven't been many tussles either. There's just been Wout trying to come back after a terrible, terrible start. Little crash, a bad moment in the race. Then he got himself together and came all the way back through the field. And that's the story of a champion as we see Lars van der Aert come through with 1 lap to go.
De kloof tussen Van der Poel en Van der Haar. We gaan andere mannen in de laatste rechte lijn zien verschijnen.
Here's the next group of riders. There's Laurens Sweeck in the penultimate place in this group. Dan Soto on the front there. Michael Van Turenhout behind him. Laurens Sweeck, then Corne van Kessel. Michael Van Turenhout started the season 3rd place in Iowa. Then he was 4th place in Bern. 2nd place in Tabor. And that's why he lies 4th overall in the World Cup so far, as Van Der Pol goes up one side and riders go up the other. There's Jorens Nieuwenhuis back with Kevin Powles again. A gap now until Namur, which is on the 23rd of December. So we go away, we come back for Namur, which is on the Citadel, that really tough course on the top of the hill. Then we go to Zolder on Boxing Day, then Pontchâteau, then Hoogerheide. Then it's World Championships in Denmark. Mathieu Van Der Pol round that turn for the final time. Big acceleration as he goes away. Toon Aerts has been working very hard on his training, trying to change the intensity of his training so he can cope with racing against Van Aert and Van Der Poel. It's meant that he's a different rider this season. He's certainly up there now in the various races. Michael Van Der now starting to suffer a little, the head moving left to right. Of course, Wout is riding as a solo sponsored rider. No shortage of people wanted to sponsor him though. Hopefully he will be able to resolve the contract issues shortly, and we'll be able to see him riding on the road in 2019. We remember him riding Strade Bianche this year. What an incredible race that was. And it would be wonderful to see him ride it again for a team like Lotto NL Jumbo, who he is joining in 2020. Machi Vanderpool, world champion in his career, European champion currently. Winner of this race in 2017. Twice third in this race as well. Supreme bike rider. Multi-talented on the road, on a mountain bike and in cyclocross. And he's made everybody look like they are in the second division today, and he is the only player in the Premier League. Superb race by Van Der Pol. Now he's just riding into the finish through these little single track sections. He's totally in control of the destiny of this bike race. Van Der Pol works his way across that section, really close to the barriers. Just lets it slide through that little rut. Now onto the descent, kicks the bike left-hander on the back wheel. Through that single track section. Wout van Aert now onto that same section. Just rights the bike a little bit there. They do make it look so easy, and it's so difficult. No doubt who the winner's going to be. There's been no doubt since the first pedal revs of today's race. Here he comes in towards the finish now, Mathieu Van Der Pol. Well, he said this week that everyone needs to get up to his level. There's a lot of work to be done. The European champion has dominated this race from start to finish. Mathieu Van Der Pol wins his third World Cup of the season. He takes Koksijde back-to-back. And that was a performance that was straight out of a textbook. Wout van Aert then looks around. He's going to finish second. It's been a tough race for him today. The world champion in second, 24 seconds down. That's academic. Van Der Pol has eased up over the last couple of laps. His last lap was a 7:17, his slowest lap of the race. Third place then for the World Cup leader. He's all smiles because he's held on to it. Toon Aerts will stay in the white and red jersey as we move to Namur for round number 6. It's all about consistency, the World Cup, and so far he is doing fine. Here comes Lars van der Haar then. Lars van der Haar making his way into the finish. Zips up the jersey. Third place last time, fourth place this time. Lars van der Haar completes the race here in Koksijde. Corne van Kessel's racing away now from the rest of the group behind. Laurens Sweeck behind him. Dan Sota. It's all about points now for the World Cup. Coming in then in 5th place. Corne van Kessel behind him, Laurens Sweeck, then Dan Sota. Woolbod, thanks for your message. You're going to see the first cyclocross you've seen in Soldier on the 26th of December. Come and say hello. It'd be nice to see you enjoy your first cross. Then Michael van Turenhout, Joris Nieuwenhuis, Kevin Pauwels, Tom Meusen. 27 kilometers of racing today. Here's Machi Vanderpool.
Mathieu Van Der Poel, ik hoor daarnet zeggen, hij doet het zoals geen mens het ooit gedaan heeft in Koksijde. Ben je daarmee akkoord?
Oh, ergens wel. Koksijde is het lastigste parcours om alleen vooruit te rijden. Want elke keer dat je aan de zandstrook komt, zijn gewoon alle sporen weg. Wat dat wel heel frustrerend werkt.
Ik kan me voorstellen, het zand lag ook moeilijk, heb ik mij onderweg laten vertellen. Door de droge zomer was die onderlaag stof, woestijn bijna.
Ja, op zich viel dat wel mee, want tijdens inrijden ging ik er wel heel veel toe overal eigenlijk.
Voor jou viel het mee?
Ja, nee, je ziet zelf ook, je raakt er gewoon niet doorgereden als er geen spoor in ligt. En, bij het opwarmen lag er wel een heel mooi spoor. Maar natuurlijk na de vrouwencategorie is dat helemaal weg, want die lopen daar. En ja, dan is dat heel moeilijk om daar een nieuw spoor te trekken.
Winnen, winnen, winnen. Het blijft altijd hetzelfde natuurlijk voor jou. Ja, met een geweldig gevoel denk ik richting Spanje. Het is toch Spanje, hè?
Ja, zeker. Vandaag wou ik nog eens een uur volle bak rijden. En dan vertrek ik wel met een gerust hart naar Spanje.
Is this victory in Koksijde more important than, for example, a victory in Wachtebeken or somewhere else?
Yeah, of course it's a World Cup, so it's always important. And Koksijde is one of my favorite races, so I'm always very motivated to come and race here. So yeah, I like the win.
And now heading to Spain, what are you going to do over there?
A little bit more of endurance rides. I think it's really necessary because during winter the endurance is really not the main focus for me. So it's good to get out, and I don't have to race the next 2 weekends, so I have time to ride my bike a little bit longer.
Not only your riding is perfect, also your English is perfect.
Thanks.
Mathieu then going to do the same as Wout van Aert is going to do, which is get some warm weather training in before Namur. Great victory by Van Der Poel today. Here's the rundown of the result. Machi Vanderpool wins in 1 hour 4 minutes 13. Second place, the world champion Wout van Aert. Third place, Toon Aerts, who will retain his lead in the World Cup. There's the rundown of the top 10. Joris Nieuwenhuis, another young rider, makes his way into the top 10 there in 9th place. Here's the rundown of the top 20. A few riders who last year did a little bit better, today finding themselves further down the rankings. Koksijde then always produces great racing. The women's race was a lot closer than the men's. If you didn't see it, go back and have a watch if you can. It's certainly well worth watching. The men's race, more of a procession. There is no answer to the might of Van Der Poel right now. He is seriously faster than everyone. But Van Aert will go away over the coming weeks, I'm sure. And when we get to Namur, I think things will be a little bit closer than they are right now. Nonetheless, it has been a good day of racing here. We wait then for the podium presentation of today's race here in Koksijde. Race stats then, Mathieu Van Der Pol, the fastest lap, 6:55. 6 seconds faster than Wout van Aert's fastest time of a 7:01.9. Toon Aerts, 7:05, another 4 seconds slower. Lars van der Haar, 7:08. Behind them, really, Joris Nieuwenhuis, 7:10 in 8th place. Kevin Powell's, 7:12 in 10th place today. And Mathieu Van Der Pol led every single lap, going 6:58, 7:10, 7:01, 7:05, 6:55, 7:10, 7:7, and then he slowed right down to 7:13 and 7:17. Here's the standings of the World Cup, and that's great news for Toon Aerts, 350 points. Van Aert doesn't move into the lead. He's at 328 now. Quinten Hermans in 3rd place, which is a good move for him, 264. And then that's the rundown of the top 10. Mathieu Van Der Pol moving steadily up there, now with 240 in 7th place. Here's the rundown of the top 20 riders. Well, Van Aert warming down. He seems in good spirits.
Okay. Dat wat? Waarom? Het is toch al 20 jaar zo.
Well, he still seems like he's in good humour despite today. Well, I hope you've stayed in the warm, and while you've been watching this cyclocross, we're going to thaw out after the podium presentation. It is like an ice cooler in the commentary box today. A true test of cyclocross. Well, now the course has to be dismantled. It's going to take a little bit of time. But the fans will enjoy a few beers before they head home this evening. Machi Van Der Pol wins back-to-back in Koksijde. One hour and 4 minutes of hard racing. There's our 2nd place rider, the world champion, Wout van Aert. Let's see what the coming weeks will bring. And our leader of the World Cup, Toon Aerts, as he high-fives the crowd. His season is exactly where it needs to be and where you'd expect it to be. He's still performing really well. Well, don't forget to join us in December for the trip to Namur. It's always a great weekend. It's very Christmassy. We're up there on the top of the citadel, the towers above Namur. And the DJ's going to get ready now for the party at the end of the race. Well, this young rider's been doing loads of riding around here. It's not too bad, is he? Probably quicker than I would go up there. That's what it's all about, isn't it? A bit of inspiration. Watch Mathieu Van Der Pol and then go out and try and do it yourself. Cyclocross growing all over the world. It's so accessible. Been in Japan the last few weeks with the Tour de France criteriums and met some of the Japanese riders who take part in quite a lot of cyclocross over there. It's growing in the United States. It's growing well in the United Kingdom. It's a really fast-growing sport. This young rider on that bike is very quick. Getting ready then for the podium presentation of today. Here we are then with the podium presentation of today's race.
Over here in the Dunes of Koksijde. Graag aandacht voor de hulpdienstplechtigheid volgend op de 5e manche die we hebben opzitten in het kader van de TelenetUCI Cyclocross World Cup. Vandaag de twist en verreden hier in de duinen van Koksijde. In deze wedstrijd.
There's our podium.
Third place in this race today. Representing Belgium, applaus voor Toon Aerts.
Toon Aerts. Third place for him today.
Namens het organisatiecomité van deze Vlaamse duinencross. Kussen en bloemen en uw applaus graag voor Toon Aerts.
He has a big fan club here.
Second place, representing Belgium, the reigning world champion. Op plaats 2, de man in de regenboogtrui als regerend wereldkampioen. Uw applaus voor Wout van Aert.
Wout van Aert, the world champion in second place.
Namens de gemeente Koksijde de felicitaties en de trofee heeft overhandigd. Er komen ook kussen en bloemen voor de man die op plaats 2 vandaag beslag weet te leggen. Met uw applaus graag nogmaals voor Wout van Aert. En dan...
Nice trophy for Wout to collect here in Koksijde.
In de men's elite category, representing the Netherlands. De winnaar vandaag van de Vlaamse duinencross, de regerend Europese kampioen. Met uw applaus, Mathieu Van Der Pol.
Machi Vanderpool, the winner of today's race, with a dominant performance. No one had any answer.
Die uw applaus dubbel en dik verdiend heeft als winnaar in Koksijde, Mathieu Van Der Pol. Mag ik uw aandacht vragen ondertussen voor het Nederlandse...
And now for the national anthem.
For the national anthem of the Netherlands. Met uw applaus, dames en heren, voor de drie renners die het podium hebben gehaald vandaag in Koksijde. Toon Aerts, Wout van Aert en de winnaar, Mathieu Van Der Poel.
Machi Vanderpool takes the victory.
Ze mogen een stapje voorwaarts zetten. En we hebben Straks Toon uiteraard nog eventjes.
There's our podium.
Op het podium, want we hebben nog een nieuwe leiderstrui in het wereldbekerklassement uit te nodigen. May I invite Mr. Harald Tiedemann Hansen.
And now we're going to present the leader's jersey to Toon Aerts. Wout van Aert needs to go away and work out how to beat this man, the European champion, who is at this moment in time dominant. But as we all know, human performance means that at some point your rivals will come back at you. The famous dunes of Koksijde have seen Van Der Pol leave everyone in the shade. This man is all smiles, though. He's held on to that leader's jersey for at least one more race. Well done to Toon Aerts. Thank you very much to all of you for joining us for the World Cup here in Koksijde. We'll be back in Namur for the next round on the 23rd of December. In the meantime, enjoy riding your bikes. Bye for now.
Het wereldbeker gebeuren wordt volgende maand verder gezet met de wedstrijden in Namen en in Zolder. Maak er nog een gezellige zondagavond van hier aan de kust, hier in Koksijde. Kom veilig thuis en namens iedereen.